Hello, Math 3. Welcome to Lesson 1.3b, where we're going to be talking about how to use z-score tables in order to determine percentiles. Now, we have done z-scores before. We did them in the last lesson. So if you recall, we found a z-score by taking whatever value we were given, subtracting out the mean, and dividing by our standard deviation. And you guys did really great with this in the last lesson. It wasn't hard to do at all. Now, if you remember, a z-score is just how many standard deviations away a value is from your mean. So what we're going to do today, since last time we calculated z-scores, we're still going to be calculating z-scores today, but now we're actually going to use a z-score table. And once we look up our z-score on our z-score table, we will be given a number that will give us the percent of data less than a given data value with that corresponding z-score. So always remember that the percent that we're being given is always the data less than with that z-score. It's always less than. And we'll talk about what happens when we encounter more than in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's pick back up with where we left off yesterday. You remember last class we had hybrid cars and we had a normal distribution of the miles per gallon they got, with 54 being the median and then 6 being our standard deviation. So count 6, count 6, count 6 up, minus 6 to go back. So we want to know what percent of cars get less than 57 miles per gallon. So we will start by doing what we did in the last lesson, where I'm going to find my z-score. So go ahead, start by finding your z-score, hit pause to try it out, and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. So in this case, I was given 57. So I'm going to subtract my mean, which is 54, and divide by 6 because that's my standard deviation. Well, 57 minus 54 gives me 3. If I divide that by 6, that gives me a half, or 0.50. Now, we always round our z-scores to 2 digits behind the decimal, which is what I told you guys yesterday. So yes, I did deliberately put a 0 in there to hold its place. Now, today, we're going to use our z-score table. You got a z-score table in class. If not, on the website, there are ways you can click and find a z-score table that you can use at home. Of course, you can also look up z-score tables online. Just Google it, you'll find a whole bunch of them. But my z-score is 0.50, so here's what I'm going to do. Now, my z-score tables have a positive side and a negative side. Obviously, I'm looking for the positive side. And here's what I'm going to do. Along the column on the left, I'm going to look for this first chunk of digits, 0.5. And then the row up above, I'm going to look for 0, and then I'm going to see where they intersect. So I'm going to bust out my z-score table. This is my z-score, 0.5. And if you look along the left side, there it is, 0.5, and it's 0.50. I need that extra digit, and if I go across the top, there's 0. So here's 0.5, here's 0, and here's where they intersect. Now notice it gives me a decimal number, but I want a percent. So I'm going to multiply it by 100 in order to get a percent. Some of you guys know the trick that you can just move the decimal twice to make it a percent. That's okay too, whatever you are most comfortable with. So 0.6915 actually equals 69.15%. So you just found that the percent of these hybrid cars getting less than 57 miles per gallon is 69.15%. Now, it just takes practice to use these z-tables, so I've got a few problems here for you to practice with. So I would like you to calculate the percent of hybrid cars, again using that same normal distribution we had earlier, the same mean, the same standard deviation. I would like you to calculate the percent of hybrid cars that get less than 50 miles per gallon. Go ahead and hit pause to try it out, and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. So 50 miles per gallon, I'll subtract my mean and divide by my standard deviation. 50 minus 54 gave me a -4, so I got -4/6. When I put it in my calculator, I get negative 0.66666 going forever and ever and ever. So I rounded it and got negative 0.67. I'm not done yet though. All I found is my z-score. Now I need to grab my table. So if I look at my z-score table, if I look on the side where all the negatives are, I look for negative 0.6 along the left-hand column, and then I look for 0.07 across the top and see where they intersect. In this case, on your z-table, hopefully you noticed it intersected at 0.2514. So 25.14% of the hybrid cars get less than 50 miles per gallon. So this is all fine and good for the less than. But what if I want to know the percent of hybrid cars that get more than 50 miles per gallon? I bet you can figure this out if you give it a little bit of thought. So hit pause to try it out and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. So I know that all of the cars together would be 100%. 25.14% is the less than. So in order to get the more than, well, I got to subtract it out of my 100% to figure out what's left for the more than. So 100% minus 25.14% means I get 74.86%, which is the percent of hybrid cars that are getting more than 50 miles per gallon. Great. Let's do another one. I would like you to calculate the percent of hybrid cars that get less than 60 miles per gallon. Once again, hit pause to try it out, and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. So in this case, 60 minus my mean, which is 54, divided by my standard deviation, which is 6, means I get 6/6, which is actually equal to 1. But since I'm using my z-score table, I went ahead and did 1.00. Grab my z-score table, and again, I'm looking at the positive side. I'm going to be looking for 1.0 in the column down the side on the left, and then I'm going to be looking for 0 on the numbers across at the top. Use my fingers, see where they intersect, and they intersect at 0.8413. So 84.13% of cars, of these hybrid cars, are getting less than 60 miles per gallon. One more challenge. You found 50 miles per gallon. You found 60 miles per gallon. What if I asked you to calculate the percent of hybrid cars that are getting between 50 and 60 miles per gallon? Go ahead, hit pause, give it some thought, try it out, and then hit play when you're ready to check your work. So in this case, I know that 50% of the cars from our earlier problem back here was 25.14%. I know that 60% of the cars getting less than 60, that cars getting less than 60 miles per gallon were 84.13%. And I just want to know the difference in between them. Well, difference means I'm going to subtract. So it turns out 58.99% of hybrid cars are getting between 50 and 60 miles per gallon. I hope you found this lesson helpful. I hope it answered some of your questions. If not, of course, you can always email me or come see me Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. I'll see you soon. Bye.